Hello, in this video I'm going to guide you through painting one simple white object against white background using your own range of blacks created from scratch. First, draw the general shape of the object. Notice that I'm drawing and going to paint my objects from the point of view that I'm seeing, and it's going to be a different angle than the one it's on the video, more like this one. I'm going to use my DIY wet on wet palette that has some leftover paint from my previous exercises. I'm just going to refill the paints that I'm missing. Before starting to paint, I'm going to create my own black by mixing my primary colors. I'm using a scrap piece of paper to test the color, and I'm going to adjust it till I find the blacks and grays that I like. Try a few combinations before you start. Find the black that suits you. It's time to start painting. Initially, you're just trying to match darkness and lightness on your paper in the bigger patches. Notice I'm using pretty big brush for that stage of painting. Remember to work not only on your object but also on your background. Work holistically across all of the paper. I forgot to protect my table, so I'm going to do it now and continue painting. While your paint is still wet, you can easily blend your paints so the transition between your values is smooth. And because I've protected my table, I can bring my paint nicely towards the edges of the paper. It will make the cleanup much easier later on. Okay, so background it's covered. Don't worry about all of the colors being correct in the first time. You're going to work in layers and change your values accordingly. I've switched to a tiny bit smaller brush and I'm going to tackle the rest of the big areas in my object. Initially, I'm just working on covering all of the paper with roughly tones that should be there on my object. I am going to give more layers to it, so I'm not trying to make it perfect. I'm trying to preserve the nice crisp edges between very different tones, but I know I will paint a few more layers on top, so no worries. It's comfortable to work with few different brushes, maybe one dedicated to dark, one dedicated to light values. I also like using a semi-wet clean brush to smooth the edges. You can see that I'm changing and adding to my object. I'm constantly looking at the object and assessing what I need to do darker, what I need to do lighter. Don't worry about making it perfect. You're going to go into more and more details as you paint. The key thing is that you're observing what's in front of you. Don't paint from the memory. Look exactly on the object in front of you, because depending how it's positioned and the light, it's going to look very, very different. Here, for example, you can see one of the techniques I like to use. I'm putting the paint around the edge of the bottom of my bowl, and then I'm using a clean but tiny bit wet brush to soften the edge of the paint. Build up your paint on top of the layers as you go. The more details you want to add, the smaller brush you're going to use. Make sure to work pretty quickly so you can still mix your paints. Another good tip is to work across of your whole image. Don't concentrate only on one area, but move around your image so you can assess and change your values of the paint to darker or lighter. You can see that I move onto the areas that I've already painted, and I'm adding more details into those areas to make my painting more realistic. I'm working with a smaller brush. I'm trying to work quickly when I'm blending the colors into one and another. While the colors are wet, it's easy to create a smooth transition. Sometimes, if I'm trying to create an illusion of the reflection, I'm leaving my paints unmixed. I'm going around my object, refining it, changing it, so it looks as close to the original in front of me as possible. I'm also looking at the background and changing what's happening there, because it might be that you've made something too dark, like I did. Don't be afraid to correct yourself and change from your first initial layer. While you're painting, bear in mind one thing. You want to have a whole range of values. So find where is the darkest area around your object or maybe on your object and make sure that you add some strong blacks there. Also, there are going to be other areas in and around your objects that you will need to darken up in order to create an illusion of three-dimensional object. When you start doing that, that's an indication that you're getting closer and closer to the completion of your object and your painting. So towards the final stages, you need to find out where are the darkest darks and lighter lights. Don't forget to check if your background is correct. Adjust it as needed. Okay, I am happy with the result of this painting. This painting took me around 35 minutes to complete. You can see that I've chosen an easy object to draw and paint. So my main focus can be on color mixing and layering the paints. Thank you.